I think you should try it. Oh, this is great.
Definitely a cult phenomenon.
You know what I think?
It just hits you in the
yeah.
face. Well, recording is now in progress.
Blood and guts.
I realize I like paint.
That was a botch. I'm blending. Hold on.
So, anyway, thanks for tuning in. We're talking about wrestling.
I'm talking to the potatoes.
That's how it's gonna go.
Oh, there's so much to talk about, but the most important topic, I think, and the topic we need to talk about before we start is that I'm officially out of whiskey, and I no longer have a friend who can get me a discount on the Suntory Toki. Now I gotta fend for myself. I'm out of whiskey.
You got to pay.
I know.
But
I had enough to grease the wheels for this episode.
Good, because I feel like as we were talking about which topics, I feel like when we came up with Cassidy, I feel like he was due.
The Orange Cassidy. That's what we're talking about.
Yes, yeah, because I feel like he is definitely due. I feel like we both agree that every match he does is amazing. I know he's supposed to be a joke. He has like a joke gimmick, but man, the crowd will start chanting, "This is awesome!" Every single match he does. Every match he does.
To me, he's the full package for the modern wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
He's okay. Well, not entirely, because he's not a great talker, even when his talking is just kind of like being silly or whatever. But but in terms of like, he puts on great matches. He's got the knack to like put on a long match and do that whole slow build kind of thing where he draws you in and gets you invested, but he also does fun moves. You know, I mean, that's the big balance a lot of wrestlers I think today need to find, is like doing the moves that are fun and exciting without just being quote unquote spot monkeys.
Yes.
And I think he has that, but he's also got the gimmick that is just fun and it's engaging. And despite what a lot of people think, today's wrestling fan, I think, likes that sort of that not gimmick, but like any sort of little thing that's letting you in on the joke.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that, I don't mean the joke that he's a joke wrestler, because he does have a sort of a jokey gimmick. It's a funny gimmick, but like the joke just like it's like an insider thing, right? Yeah, everybody knows, like, it's a nod to the fans. It's a wink to the fans saying like, we know this is wrestling and it's all scripted and silly. And so you don't have to take it too seriously to feel like a mark, but he'll still put on a match that's engaging and exciting. So it's that balance of like giving you that insider feel, but also giving you that match that allows you to suspend your disbelief.
One of the major things I feel like is amazing to him is that, yes, the crowd always says this is awesome, but if you notice, when he first comes in, the crowd already knows him, so that's why they know what they're going to see. But for like the naked person who never really watches wrestling that much, let's say if I have my friend Levi or someone in with me who doesn't just watches it for the ride just because they're with me, when they watch his character, they're like, oh my god, they actually start getting involved because like, this is silly, I like this, it's funny, he's not taking himself seriously. But then all of a sudden, after he does all these like silly moves and he does all this shit, he does some really good moves. Like he actually puts on a really good show. So you're like, okay, where did this come from? Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like doing all this weird, like cool shit. And you're like, I would have never expected that because of how his demeanor came. Like even when he walks from his theme music and like some fan is out there and he does like the whole, like he just like bumps his hand like all nonchalant, like he doesn't care, and like he just around and he then all of a sudden he starts like flinging around like a monkey, and you're like, and does all these moves and you're like, wait, where the fuck did that come from? So it's not like he's just a joke gimmick that can't wrestle. He really can wrestle, but he just puts jokes involved. So I think there's a difference.
I think so too.
Difference. It's not like the clown or like.
in topic, on topic with the circus theme, which we don't actually have, other than just our name. But the other thing is, you pointed out how he does the very nonchalant sort of like fist bump thing. I also think that like that is very appealing to today's crowd because that's kind of a vibe. There's the whole like you can point to like all sorts of aspects of popular culture that have that sort of like, I don't really give a shit vibe. You first of all, like just talking about other wrestlers, if you look at New Japan, and I know you're not that familiar, but like Naito, who's been Intercontinental Champion there and World Champion there for a while, he was doing that like I don't give a shit vibe. I'll have to show you some videos later, but one thing he would do, he'd carry the belt in one hand, kind of like dragging it along with him as he slowly comes to the ring and just like throws it into the ring. And then he's like wearing a suit, right? Because he's part of the Los Ingobernables de Japón, kind of the offshoot of the Ingobernables faction that's like Rush and Andrade. So he comes out in the suit, but then he gets to the ring and he takes like 2 entire minutes to get out of his suit, just slowly unbuttoning everything. Like, so like, and he's been doing that for years. I don't know how long Cassidy has been doing his gimmick because I haven't followed him before AEW, but like it's already there. It's established, and Naito is massively over in Japan.
It's funny that you said that though with the belt, because I think I remember telling you, because I don't know anything about that, what you're talking about, but I think I remember telling you where if they just gave him a belt, I could picture him doing the same exact thing, like walking down and just kind of like dragging. Remember when I said that, like so long ago? I was like, yeah, I could picture him just like not like disrespect, just like, whatever, and just kind of like dragging it and just like, hey guys, like like the way he does everything. But so I think he would be great as a champion, just because he doesn't even have to talk. He doesn't even have to talk. He just has to be so nonchalantly, and I think that's why every time he's teamed up with anyone, it worked. Even when they teamed up with him in Danhausen, it worked. He think about the people he did. He did Will Osprey, right? Is that his name? Yeah, he did him. Pac. He did all these wrestlers. That's really good wrestlers, but they always shouted, "This is awesome," because no one expected him to be this amazing when he does a match. And I know some people don't like him, but man, that crowd goes nuts every single time. So it's not a coincidence that he's always involved in something like that. Always.
Yeah. And to this day, I've talked about this before, but like that Pac Cassidy match from a few years ago, 2020. I mean, I don't rewatch a lot of old matches. I've rewatched that match a few times because I just love it. And that's a match I show to people who are like not big wrestling fans, but show some interest and like, oh, watch this match. This is the match that will, if it doesn't make you a convert, you'll appreciate it.
I have not seen one disappointed match with him. Not one. When he's in there, and that's telling. And I think it's telling that I don't think the crowd's never disappointed. The crowd's always chanting. They never boo. Because I think they got to the point now they realize that he's not going to win certain matches. He's not going to win the belt. He's not. So I think the crowd will go fucking bananas if he does win, because they're not going to be prepared for it. So I don't think it really hurts him, even though I do wish he would win. But I think the crowd knows. But he's like, hey, he puts on a great show anyway.
I'd love to see him get the TNT belt. I think that'd be great. He'll never be heavyweight champ, but that TNT belt would be great. And I mean,
I would like to see beat Jade.
Oh my God, that would actually be kind of brilliant.
That would be brilliant. I think.
That wouldn't be far off. That wouldn't be far off from like Andy Kaufman and women's wrestling champion. I caught
you off guard. You paused for a second. Like, wait, what did he just say? But
I think at first I'm like, oh, that's just like a silly joke. That's kind of a funny joke. But then I'm like, wait a second, I would actually like that.
I would actually like that too. I think something like that should happen.
Yeah.
So I think
that's another thing though. Like, because of his character, like there's no constraints. You can really do anything with him, and it's not going to seem weird because he's already weird to begin with.
Yeah, he's already weird to begin with.
It's never going to feel like a square peg in a round hole.
The fact too, after years, what is he's been around for pretty much since AEW started, right?
Just about, yeah.
Just about. So you're figuring after 3 years, the gimmick still has not gotten old. The crowd still fucking loves him to death.
Yeah.
He still gets "This Is Awesome" chance after 3 years, and like he only he changes like a few little. He'll do a few little things more, but he's still the same. So the fact that he didn't have to do shit or change anything, and he's still this popular is amazing. So you could tell that you have chemistry.
And he's organically over. He just got over just by doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And the crowd's always going to love that. Oh, and not to mention merch. Like he must sell a ton of merch.
He does. Yeah.
You see those thumb shirts and like
they even sell the giant foam thumbs.
That's right. Which is
so,
great.
So he's got to be good with the merch. He's got to be good with the ratings. Like when people see him.
Oh yeah, that's something I would like. I'd be curious to know, but I don't know specifically. I wonder if I could look it up in a minute. I love his entrance.
Yep.
Right. Originally he was coming out to the Pixies. Where's My Mind, which was cool.
It wasn't bad. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it kind of worked because he's kind of weird and that whole like alternative vibe with the Pixies. And it's a good song. But honestly, coming out to Jane, the Jefferson Starship song, or is it just Starship?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's just I don't know why it just works.
Yeah.
Like it's got that little intro, and they just play it from the beginning. They don't chop it up like they do with like Ruby Soho or some other songs. Or add like a little intro like they do with Cult of Personality, where they add the static in the beginning. It just starts at the beginning. It has its little intro, and it's kind of rocking in a way that's like cool but kind of cheesy in a fun way at the same time. It just suits him so perfectly. And the video, the Titantron, where it's just like scribbles, like insert image here or whatever. And all these line drawings. It's just fun.
It is just like that, and that's why I said I think that's he has charm. That's what it is. He has charm where like you just start to like people. I said it again, and I'll always keep on saying people who don't really watch wrestling will see it and like, oh, this is charming because you just draw into it. And so I just find it amazing. I find like he's one of the few people that could do the comic gimmick while still being like really entertaining as well in the ring.
I agree.
There's not too many people that can do that. Most of the time when you're a comic gimmick, you're always like a jobber or this and that, or you're just there for 2 seconds or whatever, but no, he puts on long matches too. It's not like he's just sitting there saying, okay, let me just do a 2-minute match for the comic gimmick. He'll do a fucking 15-20 minute match.
Yeah.
And it works. It actually gets better as it keeps on going. You feel the crowd going up and up and up the more it goes. So it's, to me, I feel like that's really impressive. I don't see that a lot with comic gimmicks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's because he's not like a huge wrestler. He doesn't look like a linebacker like some of these guys, but like he's fit. Like you said, he'll do these long matches and he doesn't get gassed. He saves it up for the end. Like you can't deny his ability physically in the ring. But also like I lost my train of thought.
Well, while you're listening to the train of thought, I also want to add, I find it entertaining when other wrestlers, when they go against him, they seem like they're actually having fun too, because even though they're not smiling to it, they seem like they're having fun too, because they're playing along with the gimmick. Like even like when he does this slow kicks, they'll just sit there and watch it. They seem like they're actually having really fun. Like, so I feel like they all love to work with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just because it's just like, okay, this is out of the norm. None of them are probably really getting hurt, even though they do a lot of good moves and stuff like that. It's not like, it doesn't have to be blood and this and that and brutal, but they just generally seem like they go in there and work with him and they're like, oh my God, I love this, and
that's kind of where I was going, actually. Like, as much as he does these silly moves like the fake kicks, the hands in the pockets spot, like he makes it work. It's not far off from Danhausen, where Danhausen, like, nobody believes he's really a demon, nobody believes he's really cursing people, but it's this silly thing that like it blurs the line too with wrestling. Like it's kind of a wink to the crowd that's like, we're not doing something that's totally like unbelievable, supernatural, or like just outright phony. It's all silly and borders being completely phony without actually crossing that line. And it just makes it that much more fun. And the way he does like the kicks, like nobody really sells the kicks. They look at him like, what are you doing? Really? Is this, I'm a real wrestler and you're here doing these fake kicks on me? Like,
but it's great that they let him do it. That's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of like, okay, we're just gonna sit here and do this, and you're like, okay. But even like with Pac, he actually did it back with him. Do you remember when he actually started? Back with him, and like so, you could almost tell that he was trying not to smile because it was like, okay, this is kind of like goofy and fun, and like it's something abnormal, and the crowd is loving it. So I almost would like to know like how like Will Ospreay actually thought about it, and I know he fought against a couple of people, but I never really, because you never hear anything bad about him. You never read any bad shit behind the scenes from him. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't complain. He doesn't really talk, but like in the he doesn't complain like, oh, I'm not getting the belt, and it's not. He just goes in. It seems like he enjoys what the fuck he does, gets his job done. The crowd loves it. He leaves, and that's it. He's like business. And he seems like he stays in character for the most part when you see him on like interviews and this and that.
Yeah.
It's same thing, kind of like Danhausen. Danhausen never freaking loses character. But yeah, it's so that's why I always love him. And I always feel like, I always wonder why people don't, because he's almost like that you think that, this is why we watch wrestling. We obviously know it's scripted. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. There's some people, I see this in other things too, like music and stuff. Like I'm somebody who likes all kinds of music, and I like silly, goofy bands. My favorite bands are silly and goofy, but I like serious bands too. But there are a lot of people, especially in like a specific scene, and wrestling is kind of its own scene. It's its own sort of subculture, that anything that seems to poke fun at itself, they don't like it because they feel like it diminishes their participation in it. When to me, it doesn't. Like everything, I think, can be a joke. Everything can have, sort of self-referential humor to it. But there's always going to be a group of people who don't like that. I always hear like, oh, I don't like this band. They're too silly. Some like hardcore band that's like a jokey hardcore band that makes fun of hardcore, but it's still a good hardcore band. I like a lot of hardcore. But if you know a band like Good Clean Fun that kind of like makes fun of itself, but still is like that always to me is like more fun than anything. But a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I don't like those jokes.
Well, I feel there's a time to be serious. There's a time to be serious. I listen to a lot of, but let's get real. It's wrestling. It's really wasn't like we're grown-ups. Most people who watch it knows it's scripted. So the fact that someone could do that and say, you know what, we're just gonna have a little fun. We're not trying. They're not trying to kind of like make the audience feel stupid. Like what you know what I'm saying? We're like we're gonna be so real this night. We're gonna blade and make blood. They try to be so hard sometimes. Where like we're trying to make it as serious as can. But I'm like, dude, we know who's gonna we know that who's gonna win. We know what's going on. We know the spots, whatever. So the fact that he comes in and he like you said, where when he does the joke stuff, it's not like he's not mocking it, but he's just kind of like saying, hey guys, like what I'm saying, like we know. And I'm gonna let you know that we know.
No, that's you put it perfectly. He's not mocking it, and I think there are people who take it that way.
Yeah, and he's definitely not. He's definitely not.
And it's the same thing for bands. Whatever band is doing a joke band that's like kind of making fun of the genre of the music that they're playing, those, if you want to do that well, then you have to really be a student of that music. That style of music, you have to really know it. It means you love that music. You're not making fun of it to like diminish it. You're making fun of it because you make fun of things.
If he was mocking it, first of all, he wouldn't be a wrestler if he was mocking wrestling,
right?
And he wouldn't be able to do all these cool moves right afterwards. It's
Right.
almost like a buildup. So like, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I never got the whole they thought they was marketing, but I mean that's really like for me, I just wish that they would give him a chance with a belt. I would like to see how he would be with a belt.
Yeah.
Maybe get some more wins and like make it seem like we know that there might be a chance that he wins. Like, you know, because every time he wrestles, I always feel like, okay, well, he's gonna lose. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so that's the only downfall I think of this right now is that when you watch him, like, it's gonna be a great match. Well, we know the outcome, so but at least we're not disappointed because we already know that he's gonna lose. But
Right.
that one time that they make him win, oh, a belt, that crowd's gonna go nuts. You put it in a
Nuts.
New York crowd or a Chicago crowd or something, they're gonna
Philly,
go
I think,
insane.
isn't he from Philly? Philly's got good crowds too.
They will go nuts. They will go nuts if they actually let him win a belt in his hometown. Oh my god, because they would never expect it.
Yeah.
They would never expect
Oh,
it.
and one thing we talked about that he's not a great talker, but one of my favorite AEW moments was whatever Rampage where they were doing Mark Henry was doing his, split screen interview where he doesn't say anything except for it's time for the main event. And when he goes to Orange for his part of the interview, he just says it's time. He starts saying, sounds
It's
like
time.
there's been enough talk. And Mark Henry cuts him off.
That was amazing. Wait, that's my line. That was amazing.
One of my favorite AEW moments.
Yeah, he definitely has his moments. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say because I mean, there's really not much left we could say on that. But I just figured let's do something a little bit more positive and a wrestler that we both love and we both. So this we're here. We can end this in a positive note.
Yeah, and one day, I think he is going to win the belt, and when he
I hope so.
does, we'll do another episode, and it will just be jubilant. But
Yeah.
for now, like every Orange Cassidy match is always going to be fun. I don't know.
Freshly squeezed.
Freshly squeezed.
Take it easy.
Bye.